Alright, good evening everybody. Jared here, JNap. I'm going to be streaming episode 4 of my That Time I series using the new Gemp interface. This week's episode is this episode we'll say, because I'm not sure it's always going to be every week or even every other week, but it's going to be that time I blew up 2 Death Stars in one turn. So this is a pretty neat accomplishment I pulled off a couple months ago. I'll give some quick background, but I do want to just say Eric Lands, the developer for the new interface, has recently rolled out version 1.5.1. So this episode is going to show a little bit different views than some of the previous episodes. I know the big thing is going to be the chat log and the game log down here in the bottom left. It's a little bit different, and kind of where the decks and piles are located is going to be a little bit different as well. But yeah, so some quick background on this. So shout out to my buddy Sean Luke's guy I used to play with, live way back over 20 years ago now. When I first came back to the game about 4 years ago, he told me about Gemp, started playing on it, and that was I guess March of 2017. But kind of in the interim, I've gotten more comfortable playing on Gemp, and I've seen Sean do a couple competitive events, and he's actually rolled out Asasi base operations in an attempt to blow up the Death Star. So, at first I was like, wow, that looks like 100% fun deck. It might not work. But he shared me a couple versions, and we've gone back and forth a little bit. But just having some familiarity, so sometimes in between sets, or sometimes I just want to play a much more casual game, I'll load this deck up, and I've tweaked it a little bit, but on top of that context, back in, I think it was end of December, not December, October, the Hollow Theater show, 9 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, with Dan hosting and some different co-hosts and different guests. Definitely tune into that. They did a challenge of blowing up the Death Star with Jedi Master. So fortunately we have Old Man Luke, who's a nice Destiny 4, he's a pilot. So he was obviously one of the first options to go to, but there's some others, like I think Kit Fisto's a pilot and Plo Koon. So there are different options. So I built this deck. I did a couple different versions just in testing. Part of the challenge was to win a league game. This actually happened right after one league was finishing, another league was starting. So I actually technically didn't accomplish the challenge by doing it in a league game, but there was only like 3 or 4 people in the league at that point, so I just posted a casual table. And my opponent here, Mando, accepted, and we played it out, and it's pretty neat that he flipped over that thing's operational. So kind of need the opportunity to come in order to have something crazy like this happen. So I know those in the Slack channel, I posted this replay like right after it happened. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this just happened. This is pretty crazy. And I think I might have responded to a Facebook post or two that talked about, I wish attack runs were viable. I just jumped in and was like, hey, I had a pretty fun experience one time with attack run and an event in a game that I was actually trying to win, and that worked out pretty well. So that's I think most of the context here. Again, the purpose of this series, to entertain. Hopefully people are interested in seeing the new system and just seeing Star Wars CCG in general. Maybe this game not so much just because it's kind of a wacky deck, but hopefully there's some new returning players. Maybe they get a few pointers as I talk through the game of things to keep in mind as they play. And then, of course, as we're doing these replays or as I do live games, which I might do from time to time in the series, if we're identifying bugs, we can relay them to Eric so he can continue tweaking this so it gets fully operational in due time, and that the broader community can start using this for some fun games. So I actually did a 12-card start with this Masasi base operations just to try to get cards in my hand. One of the key things, I'll let this run and I can speed up or slow down or bounce around it as needed, but I think one of the key things with this deck is the activation. It's just so bad. You only activate 1 from each of your Yavin 4 locations, so even like your 2-0s, you only get 1 from, and you can pull 1 a turn. And so I kind of came up with some half-baked alternative means of activation here just to try to get force here and there, because it's so important to find key cards, get your activation, blow up the Death Star, and then hopefully start retrieving by deploying starships with this card here, Great Shot Kid. Once you deploy unique starship from location retrieved through force, you can also deploy it from reserve for free. So obviously your opponent's probably going to pull secret plans the second they see this. They might also pull Imperial Detention, which would make the starships cost 2. So, you know, if you put out like Star Cruisers for deploy 8 or 12 like Home 1, you know, they'd be free with this from hand or reserve deck. So it's a pretty powerful card. It's a good case, you know, in messing around with this deck. If you do a 3-card start with Frigate, heading for the Medical Frigate, starting this isn't a bad idea because it's not a card you want to be fishing, but you also don't need it immediately. You got to blow up the Death Star first. So it probably is actually better not to start with it, and then use something else that can just boost the activation. So I got my opening hand, and you know, the key here is just stuffing the deck with high destiny so that, you know, when you finally do piece together all the pieces you need to blow up the Death Star, you don't draw 1 or 2. You draw some good high destinies to pull it off. So this whole game is actually only 6 turns. So I think actually the gameplay might not be the longest episode, but that's okay. Sometimes it's good to have short episodes. And I'm hoping, depending on what's going on with the Gemp PC5, if there's any live games, I might just stop the stream and start a fresh one for some casual streaming. So Mando here, he gets Moff Jar Jar out to start building the Death Star 2. And I know, you know, I'll give a quick plug to the rules. The new advanced rule booklet that just dropped, 3.27. Really, really neat. You know, it kind of, I really like the fact that it just rolls up a lot of like the rulings since the last rule book was rolled out, you know, that are on the forums that are a little harder to find, a little more buried. And those go back even to like 2016. So it's cool that they just, you know, mashed everything together, put it in this new book, and now we're like back to, all right, this is the definitive document. Now, it might take a week, it might take a month until we start getting some new errata or some new, you know, hidden gameplay functionality that causes a weird interaction, which with this game, you know, the beauty is in its complexity, but it's also creates for some wild interactions of these cards that just do so many different things. You know, I think I said before, there's, I think, about 3,200 unique cards in the game, and just seeing how they all interact and how these things have been implemented into Gemp with, you know, having a logic to it. Sometimes it finds some certain things. So that's where there might be some extra rulings coming out. But for the time being, that advanced rule booklet available on the website. Just go StarWarsCCG.org, go to the rules section, and I think I said this on another stream recently. It's very dense. It's got everything you could possibly need. It's probably not the best way. There's a beginner's rule book on that same page, but at the same time, if you did want to just say, hey, grab about an hour, maybe 2 hours, just read the whole gameplay section. There's a lot of examples, and that's what gives it a lot of bulk. That's why it ends up being 172 pages. But really, like, it's 1 to 70 is like how to play, and pages like 71 to the end are, you know, specific stuff. And even in that 1 to 70, there's a lot of stuff that's, you know, here's hypothetical examples. So it's not usually a document you want to sit down and read start to finish, but if you're new to the game, you just want to get like a objective, comprehensive look, I think it's well worth, you know, a couple hours just to read it. And you're like, okay, all right, I understand a lot of the stuff here. I can delve back in, but it can be intimidating. All right, so the first turn, pretty standard from him. So here we have, I deploy a card during my deploy phase. So I just made a quick look at the deck here. So I got, I think, 2 Lukes. Maybe 1. 3PO to start cycling cards. I got 3PO Puller. I got R2 and red 5. I got all my Yavin Foresights are bunched here. Rescuing the Clouds virtual to find some cards. This is one of those alternative ways to kind of activate. I don't think this is a great card in retrospect. I probably wouldn't use it, but, you know, maybe early game, maybe you catch your opponent without secret plans. If you had to have some cards in your lost pile, or if you're just really desperate for force, usually the opponent will, I would think they'd probably choose activate if you have, you know, 3 or more cards in your lost pile. And I got my trench, I got my proton torpedoes, organized attacks. I got a couple of rebels who just draw on their own and that are pullable by Princess Organa, who's really neat, and that she subtracts 1 from force drain. So, you know, inevitably your dark side's probably going to try to invade Yavin, get a drain at the system, which is 2, or the docking bay. So that's good. And then Dodonna, he might be in my hand. He's good in that he disallows spies from deploying to the same war room. Alright, so yeah, I have him in my hand, so he's cool. I like him. Not only that, he adds 1 to epic event draws, which will come in handy later. But he disallows opponent from deploying spies. Alright, so I just deploy the 1 site and draw some cards. So again, more alternative activation if they're tracking this, like activate 1. Got a couple ships. I got We're Doomed, which will work with R2 and red 5, or 3PO for some late game damage mitigation. And hopefully keep me alive. So if he's going to start building the Death Star, or continue building the Death Star, I should say, he gets an invisible handout. This was I don't know how exactly this was built, but you'll see the invisible hand in the Polar Trade Federation tactics. Sometimes, obviously TTO always has heavy space to kind of get those drains in at the system, and then make sure that Death Star 2 is orbiting a system and causing the force loss with that thing's operational. So he gets the handout, invisible hand I should say. Saves none. I'm going to activate the max. A lot of cool stuff going on here. I think some of these items, these icons down here in the chat system log, might be more specific to gameplay and not specific to replays. So I don't know if we're going to get into them quite as much, but alright, so I deploy another site. And I'm going to pull Princess Organa, who then pulls another Rebel, because I need to occupy 3 to flip. And once you flip, you can start pulling like the weapons. Some people, I think initial versions of this, I've actually, with talking with Sean, I've definitely had 5 or 6 different versions of this thing. But one of, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so the Rebel text, that's what I was going to talk about. So you'd think, I need Rebel text added to Destiny for attack run, but you don't really. It's kind of surprising how easy it is to add up for attack run. And I don't know off the top of my head if you need to draw greater than 12 or greater than 14, but you got a lot of stuff adding. I think it's the briefing room will add 1 if you have a leader there. The headquarters, which we'll see a little later, adds a couple force. So now he starts his turn, and I actually think it's his activate phase. Okay. I pull battle plan. Alright, I was going to say, I think when I just did the replay, just to make sure it didn't break, there was one point I was like, why didn't he force drain that turn? And I'm already at turn 3, and again, this was only a 6-turn game. When you blow up 2 Death Stars, there's a lot of force loss. So I used Adana. I whiff on Gold Leader, and I'll never forget this. Gold Leader was one of the, I played their tracking us, and the one card I activated was Gold Leader, because I knew it was in there. So that was a misplay that I didn't pull Gold Leader before. So I was immediately kicking myself up. I could have really used Gold Leader. There's another ship in hand. So I got to verify here. Control set for stun. If he could set that up and set for stun my guy making an attack run, that would really suck. And really set me back. There's actually another thing that happens that really sets me back, which we'll get to. So he gets that thing's operational out. So now he's starting to force damage. He has Emperor Palpatine at the docking bay, which means he's satisfying battle plan. Goes to his move phase, moves to the Death Star 2. Frankly, because he wants to be able to get the hand to Yavin. Because he wants to orbit. That thing's operational doesn't work if you're orbiting Endor. It's any system except Endor. Yeah. So that's where he's doing this trick to try to leverage the Death Star 2's hyperspeed to get to, because this is only hyperspeed 3, so he couldn't get from Endor to Yavin because it's 8 to 4. So here's my turn 3. Radis is great in this deck too, because again, it's just starve activation, so having guys who are free are really great. Got the blue milk, actually have a foil blue milk. Again, more ways to just activate without having floating zeros and the whatnot. So I'm now going to deploy Luke in Red Squadron 6, which is a virtual card. This is Elo Asti, I think his name is, from episode 7 or 8, probably 7. And I get Destiny 6, so in case I draw it, cool, it doesn't hurt me. It's not like having a floating 2 or 3 for next wing. And Luke is driving it. So Luke, the old man Luke, is piloting Red Squadron 6, and I'm going to move here. I was really crossing my fingers here he didn't have like a barrier. He had 2 force saves, right? That would have been bad. That would have been bad if Luke got stuck there. Although I could have maybe organized attack and maybe dug for an all wings to try to not die. So I'm going to start making the attack run for Death Star 2. Playwise advice, I guess fearing the sense because he's got Emperor out. Let's pause for just a second. So you have attack run. So what we need, wow, that's a lot of text. This looks like one of those legacy cards. It has an errata, which as you guys can see, let me see how this works. So I can just hover. now, see, once I move off. But let's go back onto alright, so I need to draw greater than 15. I get to add my destiny. So it's just one destiny. Plus X, so the ability of a lead pilot. So that could be, gold leader and gold 1 would be 2, blue fox would be 7. Plus Y, which is total sites of rebel base and Hoth. So I'll have 3 or 4 sites for that. And I don't think he's going to be having an opponent's tile, though. It wouldn't be crazy if he had like Saber 1 and Baron following me in. But so bottom line is, I'm going to add 4 plus, let's say the ability is, let's say 4, just pick something in the middle of a Jedi Master and a permanent pilot. And so 4, 4, and then I'm going to get 1 from Dodonna is 9. So I basically need to draw 7 if I don't have any other helpers. And we'll see, the biggest helper is going to be the headquarters. And I think, did that say something about adding 1 if there's proton torpedoes? Alright, so I play rescue. We'll get there, I'm sure. I get a barrier, which is really big, just to try to stay alive in space. And this card ultimately, at one point I make a pivot and I was like, look, I'm not going to win this game by out-draining him, or even by getting to this point where I'm going to start retrieving with Heroes of, not Heroes of Yavin, with Great Shot Kid. So it's almost like I wasted a card. I could have just held it, but I had to respect Monarch a little bit in this game, because that would really set me back. This was the turn. I think he didn't drain. Yeah, I think he might have forgot to drain. So, you guys are newer train players. You'll find that a lot of times when some pretty wild things happen, you get some breaks your way. And yeah, even though he had battle plan satisfied, I don't think he force drained. He still got sidetracked. So he puts Mara out. I choose not to barrier it. I think I have 2 Rays in this deck. She's just so good, especially, again, activation's key and finding key cards is key in building this deck. A lot of times, I don't know if I said this on one of my other streams, but I like to think of, approaching this game of like 4 pillars. And the 4 pillars are be able to cause damage, to win a game, to have a good deck and to win a game. Cause damage, mitigate damage, good destinies, good activation. So those are like my 4 rules that I like to live by. You can just look at a deck and instantly like, man, the destiny's awful. I got to do something here. Or wow, there's activations are not reliable. We got to tweak something. Or what damage is this deck really forcing through? Is it going to be able to keep pace with another deck that's well designed? Like if you basically have a couple drain 1 sites, that's not going to cut it. You got to have drain 2 sites. You got to have some direct damage and whatnot, and then mitigate damage. So light side, for example, you have stuff like Menace Phase, Projection of Skywalker. It could be worse. Or even Retrieval like Rose, or Great Shot Kid in this case, or like Dark Side, how you mitigate damage, Imperial Decree, or be able to be on 3 battlegrounds to use resistance, so you're not getting big drains. There's plenty of ways of trying to cut down your damage. Maybe sometimes ways of mitigating damage is you just have a lot of good cards that can battle, so you're just going to kick your opponent off sites or systems. That can be a way to mitigate damage too. But winning battles, a little more chance in there, a little more combination specific per se. So he draws now. End of his turn 4. I have 11 cards in hand. He has 15. I don't think I get a force drain in this entire game. To do spoiler alert. But now this turn, yeah. So I'm gonna have a setback this turn, but I am gonna move, Luke further into the Death Star too. So I do this verify. The cards I need to piece together. Obviously, the Death Star. I need to get proton torpedoes. I need a ship. Sometimes I need a pilot. I don't need a pilot. If my ship doesn't have a permanent pilot, yeah, I will. And you obviously need attack run. And the one key thing too is moving into the trench is a regular move, so you can't move from like Yavin to Death Star and then do your attack run. You either have to like use Fly Casual, which is a really cool card because it's Destiny 6, and the used version, which you don't see very often. So that was interesting. So I just did Ray to pull the site from my use pile, which is big. Let me pause this. Because I flipped, in a way, you can maybe argue I flipped too fast, or I'm not even sure if I activated it, but Once you flip, you can't pull sites from your reserve. But this site's great because if you control attack run totals +2, may not be separated from material sites. And if opponent occupies, it's -4. So let me go back here and yeah, all right. So first off, I was describing this earlier. We actually draw 2 decimals. That's awesome. So it's not nearly as hard as we. So when I said draw 6 or 7, that's with 2 destiny, and then that wasn't even including kind of the headquarters adding 2. So I think we basically need something like 2-3, 3-3 when you account for Dodonna, and then that'll blow this thing up. But yeah, so it's a regular move to move into the trench with attack run. So you either want to go straight there. You know, at one point I think I had Tantive 4 in here to go straight here. But it's better just to use, I think this has maybe 2 copies of Fly Casual. You play it used, you deploy here for -1. And then you can just go right in that same turn. So Luke moves again further in. So now he's doing the movement destinies, which are kind of tricky. I know there's an interesting interaction with those with, I think, Rick and Queen's starship and Obi-Wan's ship, those 2 episode 1 starships. They're starfighters with armor. And this is one of those things that this is where, kind of cool having the advanced rulebook. Because I think this targets maneuver, and because they don't have maneuver, I think there might be a ruling here. Yeah, so I think it makes it easier for them to get through, put it that way, because they're this unique situation where they're starfighters with armor. If there's anybody in the chat who knows different, let me know. But big news here. So he plays Gravity Shadow when I'm trying to move my Ray and Red 6 to Death Star. So now I lose Ray, Proton Torpedoes, and Red 6. So that's huge. And I was really debating about just conceding right here. There's actually only 3 cards in my loss pile somehow. Even though he has way better board position than me. So I definitely consider just conceding right here. There's another time when I consider conceding, which we'll get to pretty soon, a couple of phases. So that's really stinks. But I'm looking at his life force. He doesn't have a ton. He has a good amount of cards in hand. But I still have 34 cards face down. I have 9 in my hand. So I'm like, all right, let me play this out a little bit more. And he's going to activate his force, and he's going to hit me probably here with 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's -1, plus 5, 6, with that thing's operational. So and now I need to be cautious here and not lose. I still don't have the trench in my hand, and now I need to find another Proton Torpedoes. I think I have 3, but I definitely obviously I lost 1. So I'm trying to be very careful of losing cards from hand and not top decking. Or if I top deck something, hopefully I need a way to get it back. And to be honest, we'll see, the key card that saved me this game, I don't think I always had it in the version. I think I added it, and kind of messing around. So now I'm top decking, just crossing my fingers, I don't lose anything key. And then I have this card, so I lose it, could be worse. And then I lose the trench. So that's really bad. This is the second time I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to concede. There's no way I'm going to now be able to blow up. I take that back, because the challenge was just to blow up Death Star with Jedi Master, and you win. So I think in my brain I was like, maybe my win condition is blow up both Death Stars, because that's just enough damage. I'm not going to be able to keep up with his force drains and his pings with that thing's operational. And at this point I definitely was like, do I have a way to get this back? I didn't start Lockling, which would have been helpful. Well, not that helpful, because I don't even have any battlegrounds. And he has Commander Big Coward out. So I'm like thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure I got Obi-Wan Kenobi virtual, who can do the exchange 2 for 1 once per game. So I need to figure out how to get him. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I need all these cards. I need attack run. I need a few maneuvers. I need control tunnel vision, find key cards. I mean, I guess I might have been able to lose a few maneuvers, but I wanted to have a trackable 6 in case I needed it. So he now deploys Lord Sidious here. So that's going to be a drain of 0. Because again, a Princess Organa is a pretty neat card, and this is definitely the only deck I've ever used her in. But she pulls another, I think it's once per turn actually. So I think I did this verify, and I just went, actually let's go back a little bit. So move, deploy turn 5. Let's see our scrub bar here. Let's try this guy out. We haven't done. So we just had moved. It was my move, right? Yeah, so let's hit play here. So we're gonna get the restore. Here when I do a verify. Okay, here we go. Let me hit pause. All right, so I do. Well, I guess at this point, maybe I went. Hold on. Yeah, I definitely went past it. Let's go back. We're really testing this guy. I think it was his move phase was when I did it, wasn't it? Yeah, his turn 5. So now we just. Oh God, this is great. This is, you know, it used to be so frustrating when you would not be able to rewind or go to specific spots. This will be really helpful for the people the slicers who address bugs. It'll be helpful for like people in playtesting, especially leadership, D&D. They can kind of go to key points of the replay instead of. I think I said this on the other streams. You know, you hit play, you hit fast forward 3 times, you look away for a minute because you're doing something else, and you go past the spot you need. All right, so yeah, so during his move phase or his deploy phase, I do a verify with Radis. So I don't know why. I know I didn't have a Corvette. Maybe I did it solely to make sure, hey, I do have Obi-Wan in here, right? So now I'm like, all right, I need to get him, because if I don't get him, I can't get the trench. Yeah, obviously, you guys will see more of this deck here. You have the 2 R2s for High Destiny. Fly Casual, I talked about the use portion of it. You could, during deploy phase, 1 starship deploy -1, and/or 1 pilot to system, even without presence or force icon. So you can go straight to the Death Star there. And yeah, good. So yeah, I have 2 copies of them. I got a bunch of 4 rescues to find stuff. A couple of wings. I don't know why I have sense in here. 2 they're tracking us. Yeah, this is a wild deck. And you know what's funny is I could probably tweak this to be a little less niche-y, I'll say, because this was built solely to get a Jedi Master to blow up the Death Star, and I could probably do some other stuff. You know, make the deck a little more optimized. So, like I said, I play this sometimes and I'm like, I don't need a casual game. But yeah, so that was key to know that, yes, I definitely have Obi-Wan being here. And he's, you know, he's definitely going to... Does he have another ship here? It's very possible for him to, yeah. So now he's lining up a damage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because 4 with that thing's operational because it has this effect out, and now he occupies this location. So I got 10 damage coming my way. I need to do something, and it's going to go into my turn 5. So again, so we're at 29 minutes, and like I said, we only have about a turn left. So I always, you know, I'm always conscious I don't want to make these things too long. Make them hopefully good, quick views and not overly exhaustive. But yeah, so I activate here my turn 5. And now, just now, I'm going to be moving into the reactor core. Yes, I don't think we get a single battle this game, and I don't get a single force drain. So I get the proton torpedoes. Now I have all the pieces I need, including an ability for pilot. If I was him, I might have moved here. I might have said, hey, I don't know. He might have also said, hey, if he blows up this Death Star, I'm losing. Or, because I was going to say, maybe it'd be some value of him moving Lord Sidious here, anticipating me blowing this guy up. So I'm going to put Gold Leader here. Again, he had no force saves. I didn't have to fear an Imperial barrier. Move Gold Leader. Move to Death Star. I move Red Squadron 6 in. Draw my movement Destiny. And now, during my control phase, I can attempt to blow this away. I'm drawing some cards. I know I'm staring at, what I say, 10 damage. So 1 at the system, because again, it reduces it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I don't have any, could be worses. I do have a couple controls, but I still don't have Obi-Wan in my hand. So I need to find him. Play Rescue. He didn't grab it. I wonder what he was, maybe he saw that it could be worse, and maybe he thought we might have a second one. So you'll see oftentimes grabbing it could be worse, or grabbing Rescue in the Clouds rather, not a good long. It's usually good against light side mains because that's how they find a lot of their stuff, but against a lot of other decks, you don't want to grab it. So here's his turn 6. And now I have 12 cards in my hand, 24 face down. I need, you know, cards to draw Destiny. I need Force to, you know, deploy Obi to get back the trench. So now he finally grabs Rescue. That might have been the third or fourth time I played it. But he takes it out of my deck, and now I get, yeah, it's the joke about playing Rescue and then seeing another Rescue. But I get this, either way we win part, which I can't retrieve because he has Come Here to Coward out, and I don't have it satisfied. So I think I just toss this. And I don't want to let him get forced back. So these are some tough decisions, just to throw away stuff that at this point, again, I'm telling myself, what's my, quote, win condition? It's going to be blowing these things up. It's not going to be out-draining him or getting into a, you know, leaning on this great shot kid to try to keep. I'm not going to have the force with all the secret plans, or with, secret plans out. So I play Control Television to cancel the Drain at Endor. Another plug for the rulebook is, you know, how much force do they lose? A lot of times I'm just like, I don't even know. I think if you just pull up the Death Star and they have the trench out, I think it's, you know, maybe, I think I want to say it's like 14 or 16 force that they have to lose. But that's something, you know, you control, you search for it. It's in the rulebook. It's something that if you're playing a tabletop game of this stuff, you probably don't know that unless you look this up. It's one of those. I mean, obviously, if you're playing the deck, you probably know, but you know, Gemp just tells you, it calculates it, and does it all. So it's pretty neat that way. So I'm just peeling more cards here, making some tough decisions. Know that I'm not really gonna. I gotta blow these things up, and if I don't, I'm gonna lose. So he's in his deploy phase. He deploys Tarkin. This doesn't make a lot of sense. He has a decent amount of cards on the table. That's one of the reasons I don't like That Thing's Operational. It's kind of similar to EVO, where you have all these. I mean, their activation, yeah, but you're putting a lot of cards on the table. You got 5 locations, and this is probably a wasted card too. Super Laser, although you know you probably saw a couple capitals like Liberty, which if you actually hit Liberty, it can't go to use pile. So I'm pretty sure of that. Alright, so now it's my turn. This is where the fun begins. So I almost want to go in slow motion, like go 0.5 speed, but we'll go. So here I activate, and I'm not sure if I knew that Obi-Wan was towards the top, but I knew I needed to find him to get the trench back. So I activate my 12. And I'm going to attempt to blow up the Death Star here. Oh, no, so first I use Luke's text. That's a cool thing about him, too. So I verify my reserve. I got Rey, who I do not want to draw, and I got Ryle. I always want to call him Ryle Torson. That's the underlying card. Commander Nara. He's a Destiny 3, which isn't bad. So I definitely don't want to draw Rey. Everything else is probably okay, because with That Thing's Operational, can I hover over it while it's up? Let's see. So if I hover over That Thing's Operational, I'm going to pause. I think I need, yeah, you definitely want a high ability pilot, I know that. So once during each opponent's control phase, his opponent's piloted starfighter may attempt to blow it away. Draw Destiny, add 3 torpedoes. I don't have torpedoes. Draw Destiny, add ability. Generate less than 8. So I need a 2. So I'm just crossing my fingers. I don't draw right here. And actually, it's going to be 1 higher because the Donna adds. So I can even draw for 1, which is, let's see. So I play it. So now I fish out Obi-Wan. I'm like, all right, I might have a way here to do them both. Cards in the right pile coming in key here. So it looks like I'm doing some hemming and hawing. I'm not sure exactly what to do, which is interesting on the replay that you can kind of see when you click, unclick, stuff like that. So now I am... I must have gotten nervous. I must have been like, wait, I just don't want to mess this up. Let me make sure I'm doing this in the right order. Alright, so I just say, let's blow it up. I draw my 3. He plays a Dark Time to subtract, but that doesn't make any sense because, like I said, 7, it says I draw 4, so it already has the Donna adding 1, so I have 11. I know I need greater than 8. So I still am too clear, but I still have a 10. Or no, I have a 9. No, 10. 3 plus 7, yeah, I need an 8. Epic event total, whatever the heck it says. I blew it up, barely. So now I'm moving Luke out. And I actually don't want to draw too many Destinies here because I need to have 2. So I got to draw, I guess, what is that, 3 for movement Destinies? I want to make sure I have 2 in my reserve. And Red Squadron 6 is going to make it out of the Death Star 2 in 1 piece. And now he has 24 force to lose. So he's got, alright, so he already lost 2. He's got 18 plus 10 in hand. So he's got 28 and he still has 22. So he's going to be left with 6. And where does this 24 come from? So he has icons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 times 4. So it must be, yeah. And then attack run, it could be 12. 4 times 3. Icons 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure if something adds to the force loss. Well, we'll say in a minute. So he has to lose a ton of force here. But he's also probably telling himself, you know, he's going to blow away these systems. He's not going to be able to drain there because a coward. He's not going to be able to drain there because the system's blown away. There's no force icons. He's going to do no damage to me is probably what he's saying to himself, as I would if I was him. I don't know who Mando is, but I was, for sake of this crazy game, I'm happy he didn't concede. Because, or else I would be like, oh, I'll never know if I was able to actually do it. So he's peeling a lot of cards. And that's a liability. I mean, some decks, some light side decks against TTO, you know, like if you have the Falcon, you might just say, hey, I can just blow this thing up. The key is a lot of TTO decks run Major Mianda and Scythe 1 or 3, whichever one he is. I think it's 1. And they could shoot you down pretty easily before you go. So now, and I asked Eric, and maybe at some point, definitely not a high priority, but you know, get some cool like fireworks graphics or something, or animation, I should say, for when stuff's blowing up, like bunkers and Death Star 2. So it flips. Now it's face down, and now it's my control phase still. I go to my deploy. He's got 5 plus 0 in hand. I've got 19 and 6, so I'm 25 to 5 right now. But again, I'm doing 0 damage, and he's doing like, he did 10 last turn. Or I guess he won't do any of it, because now if that thing's operational, it's off the table. Yeah, because that's the other cool thing. Like if you, I did this once, and ironically it happened right when Gemp crashed, which I hasn't done in a while. But I blew up the main power generators, and then EBO goes lost. So you're like, oh wow, so this is a way to win. Now he doesn't get any of the drains, and EBO without that force drain bonus is not a good deck. Especially, yeah, it's just not a good deck without the bonuses. So I deploy Obi, I gotta toss 2 cards to get back the trench. Now he's probably like, oh gosh, what did I do? Get the proton torpedoes out. I have like just enough cards in hand, I think, to pull this off. And I debate, I have 4 cards here. I could have deployed Corrin to make it even more likely in case I draw that ray that's floating. But honestly, I might have been a little unsure if you have to spend a force to move in. You know, sometimes these rules, these wacky rules, you're not positive. And I'm like, the last thing I want to do, but would I rather take the risk of losing? I mean, I could probably ask for a revote, but in a casual game. But I didn't want to rely on that in case I need to spend the 1. So now I'm going to make the attack run with Gold Leader. So Gold Leader moves in during my move phase. It's my lead starfighter. Draw the 4, blast the door kid, which is a way of kind of surviving here. And I draw the Don't Tread on Me. So now, let me pause it here. So total Destiny's 11. Total Epic Destiny's 11. Now I move Gold Leader out. I don't know if it computes. Destiny, okay, here we go. X, Y, 4, so total's 19. Because this is huge, adding 2. But I needed greater than 15. What did I say, 15? Yeah. So I was clear by 4. So, but the Donna was huge, and you know, maybe if he had the Dark Time, it gets me down to 18. Without the Donna, I'm at 16. I still barely make it, but it's close. And now he needs to lose. That's the other thing. So he has Decree V out. Did he not use it for? I don't remember seeing him. So, yeah, was it? This scrolling was a little sticky. I don't, or not sticky, like really sensitive, I should say. I'm trying to find exactly how much force. So, reduces it by 5 and he has 9. So he needed to lose 14. And I don't know where the 14 comes from. 1, 2, 3. Times 3 would be 9. Times 4 would be 12. Something must be adding to the... Oh, maybe it's one of these things. I don't think so. Subtract 1 from Force lost to Donna. I don't think does it. Maybe it's this. Probably not. I think it would be a little more important. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'm kind of curious what was adding to the force loss, or what dictates the force loss. Oh, you know, it's +8. That must be what it is. Yeah, here we go. So dark side loses +8, so we said 14. So it's actually only 2 times the amount, whereas Death Star 2 is 4 times? That's pretty wild. So it's 1, 2, 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 8 is 14. So that's where that comes from. So that's really weird that they're different. That Death Star is 2 times the icons, but Death Star 2 is 4 times the icons. They have 6 icons on the table, and you had to lose 24. And honestly, you might have forgot to lose with the crate, but I don't think it makes a difference. Fortunate for me, because he then will, as we come in for a landing here at 43 minutes-ish, yeah, he still has another like 5 to lose. So even if he had to create, I think I would have just enough. So yeah, so that was it. So this was a really fun, crazy game. Luckily, we didn't see any bugs. It was pretty smooth. We bounced around a little bit. Like I said, the one thing that I think would be cool down the line to implement is some type of like, you know, things blowing up, fireworks, maybe some Ewoks celebrating and whatnot. So yeah, so thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm gonna check the lobby. I may be right back on a different stream if there's some cool Gemp UI 5 games going on. But thanks Adam. That's what does it. TTS is double the force. So it is the same rule. So it's 2 times the 6 icons is 12, and then TTO doubles it. So it's kind of, you're doubling down. I guess you're at the blackjack table and you see a 5 and from the dealer, and you got a 10, and that's what TTO is basically. So, all right. So everyone, thanks for watching this, whether you did it live or whether on a replay. You know, episode 5. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do, but hopefully soon. Hopefully within the week or maybe 2 weeks at most. I hope you guys are enjoying these, and I'm hoping that we get the interface sooner rather than later. But I'm sure Eric wants to make sure, and the whole team, everyone relevant to this project, wants to make sure that it's not buggy and in good shape to be rolled out more broadly. So thanks again. I will sign off now, and everyone have a good evening. Take care.